A few years ago, a game called Vampire Survivors got people talking and pretty much created a new genre. The idea of a simple yet addictive game where you survive waves of monsters while leveling up and choosing how to customize your character build as you go became a big hit. In 2024, the similarly named Vampire Hunters, the two games are right next to each other in my Steam library, is releasing in 1.0. The game takes this formula and asks one important question. What if it was in first person? Developer Gamecraft Studios knew if you were going to create a first-person survivor game, you would need one important thing.
Guns. Lots of guns.
This is the main draw of the game, the guns. You can literally get up to 10 guns on screen that all shoot at the same time, and you have secondary weapons and abilities that take up the top area of the screen. All of your weapons have auto-fire unless you turn them off or adjust them. Your guns are the most powerful tool, with these secondary weapons not being quite as effective, but still being useful in their own way. You get close range and long range secondary abilities, but the real firepower comes from upgrading guns and of course relics, which you pick up from defeated bosses that periodically show up from luck of the draw after you collect enough blue spiral currency. There are different stages and each one has a distinct style and feels different. Some stages are larger than others, but each one has lots of narrow corridors, raised platforms. The real focus is on verticality, which I really like. In Vampire Survivors, you are in a giant, almost infinite area, but since you are in a limited space in Vampire Hunters, you have to use strategy and the environment to bait enemies around or go to a higher area. In one level, I was just jumping from circular platform to large circular platform and getting the enemies to follow me. In another level, I used the rafters to jump around. I really like this approach to stage design. The enemies vary from fodder to flying elites, to monsters with large shields, to my least favorite, the flamethrower guys. Bosses show up eventually, sometimes in groups of 3, and they range in size from a Kappa egg that runs around to a giant worm or some enemies that are so big they can barely be seen in their entirety. There are 6 characters, 3 when you start, and more that can be unlocked. Each one has up to 100 levels to gain, and grows in power. They have strengths and weaknesses, like my favorite character, the Scout, which has a lot of mobility and power, but not much health. There are 3 types of currencies that you earn from battle. One unlocks weapons, the other skill tree abilities that include equipable artifacts, and the third unlocks permanent upgrades, like more damage and more health. There are constellations which give you passive effects, and you can equip multiple of these. Constellation effects vary from starting with 2 guns to the one that makes the stage go on infinitely. There are a lot of different upgrade paths to take in this game, which I really like. Now, in terms of things I didn't like, I have a problem with being able to see things. As you amass guns and secondary abilities, it gets hard to see, and I feel there's a lot of visual clutter. But this only happens when the level gets near the end and the hordes are strongest. There are options to make your guns smaller so you can see more screen. In fact, I'm impressed with most of the options available here. There are a few issues with hit detection and a bit of wonkiness, like your flamethrowers targeting your frog bombs. Yes, that is a thing that can happen, but overall I was impressed by how the game handles and plays. Vampire Hunters is not much of a looker. You are not playing this game for the graphic fidelity or to push your graphics card, although it does have a quaint retro PlayStation look to some of the textures, which is perfectly fine by me. This game is part of a very saturated genre right now, so you will find worse and better versions of the genre on Steam and elsewhere, but despite its generic name, Vampire Hunters works and is great for what it is. I got the same rush and dopamine hits playing this game that I originally got from Vampire Survivors when I first played it. It was very easy to do multiple runs, it's pretty addictive, and you will get really into it. My recommendation is basically if you like this genre of roguelike auto shooter, then this is a pretty good one. It's fun, has tons of replay value, doesn't break the bank, and you can play it any time or when you don't have much time. I give Vampire Hunters an above average score of 3.5 out of 5. This is Dan T at Twisted Banana Productions, signing off. Like, comment, and sub, and I'll see you in the next review.